Good evening and welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show. Alex Bregman goes to the Chicago Cubs and the Yankees are at an impasse with Cody Bellinger. I'll explain. It's New York Minute Sports. It's New York Sports for New York Nuts. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and welcome to the AL East episode with Ken Rosenthal. Let's go!
Did the right thing. Alex Bregman, 5 years, $175 million. With deferrals, it's more like $150.
And what an absolute disaster for the Boston Red Sox franchise. All I've been hearing all offseason is how good the Toronto Blue Jays are going to be and how good the Boston Red Sox are going to be. Well, guess what? After this one, the Boston Red Sox have egg on their face because, hey, I was in the party of it was a foregone conclusion that Alex Bregman was going to be back with the Boston Red Sox. Now let's go back in the Wayback Machine. Let's go back to, last season. They brought Alex Bregman in to be a locker room leader on the heels of signing Rafael Devers to a mega $325 million deal. Rafael Devers was now going to be the face of the franchise. Now, if you remember, Devers played third. You know who else plays third? Alex Bregman. So after they tell Devers that they want him to be the face of the franchise, they ask him to move to first base. And Devers is like, what? I'm the guy. He's got to move. No. It doesn't work like that. Okay. So they talk Devers into playing first base and DH. Then they put Alex Bregman at third. Then what happens? It deteriorates down to the point where they ask Devers just to be the full-time DH. And he goes, what do you want me to be, the janitor next? Next thing you know, Devers is on the San Francisco Giants. Now, say what you may of Rafael Devers. He would kill Garrett Cole on a consistent basis. Owns him. Owns the AL East. Have you ever seen his stats? Go look them up. They're impeccable against the whole AL East. So they let this guy walk for their locker room leader who lost to the New York Yankees in the playoffs. They let him go test the market, and they don't retain him? That is a monumental failure by the front office of the Boston Red Sox. Hey, listen, I get if they had a discussion with Alex Bregman going, you know what? We want you to come back. Go see what you can get on the open market. Let us be the last guys to offer it to you. Then the Chicago Cubs come and swoop in, and they blow the doors off of Alex Bregman. And you know what? If you're going to go to a team and you were already going to go to the Boston Red Sox, I kind of put the Chicago Cubs in that same atmosphere of a storied tradition team and a really good situation where the Chicago Cubs are close to winning a ring. I mean, I don't think anyone's close to it with the Dodgers being the team that they are. But what a start to the week here on Monday with the Boston Red Sox franchise reeling right now. You got to remember, they didn't go after Pete Alonso. I heard about that. Just think about a right-handed Pete Alonso with that wall at Fenway. Then they let Devers walk. Now they don't have Alex Bregman. They lost their leader, they lost their bat, and they lost out on an opportunity to get a first baseman for the next 5 years. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did the Boston Red Sox screw this one up?
Or 5-155. But either way, he will be their third baseman next season. And with the Cubs doing this, they've really completed an offseason, it would seem to me, that has been very good in almost every way. They got a starting pitcher, Edward Cabrera, that they needed. They rebuilt their bullpen with 5 free agent signings, even brought in Tyler Austin, bringing him back from Japan. They've just had a really sound offseason for.
And you got to remember, the Cubs are doing the pivot also. They're doing the Kyle Tucker pivot right now. 2 years ago, they had to do the Cody Bellinger pivot because he came to us. So it seems like the Chicago Cubs are really good at bringing these guys in for a one-year rental, see how it goes, evaluating the talent, and seeing if they want to give them a long-term contract. I think the Chicago Cubs are the canary in the coal mine for the free agency, to be honest. If the Chicago Cubs don't retain Bellinger and Tucker, you don't sign them either. And we'll get to how much Cody Bellinger is looking for and how much Kyle Tucker is looking for and the latest on Bo Bichette. We'll get to all that. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe.
A team that, in my opinion and in the opinion of a lot of people who follow them, need to take a step forward. Question now is what is next for the Cubs? And you see their offseason additions right there. And let's not forget, Shota Imanaga also accepted a qualifying offer, so he's back. The question with the Cubs now is, would they trade Nico Hoerner or Matt Shaw now that they have Bregman in the fold?
Now, there has been rumors that Nico Hoerner has been mentioned with the New York Yankees in a possible trade. I was looking at this guy's stats last night. In the last 3 years in the major league, I think he's second in overall hits. He hits for a high average, doesn't have power, doesn't hit for a lot of RBIs. His on-base percentage is very good, and he also hits almost 200 hits a season. And that's the kind of guy, table setter, possible leadoff man that the New York Yankees need.
In my opinion, I've written this, and Sahadev Sharma of The Athletic wrote it more eloquently than I've said it today. The Cubs can't trade Hoerner. They shouldn't trade Hoerner. They can entertain the thought if they'd like. And if someone wants to offer them something ridiculous for 1 year of Nico Hoerner, be my guest. But the whole idea here is to build the best team possible. And it's difficult to imagine the best Cubs team possible, not including Nico Hoerner. Nico Hoerner, yes, under club control for only one more season. Well, guess what? You know what that means? It means the Cubs should sign him to an extension. And that way they would have lots.
Yeah, Cubs don't do that. Just like the New York Yankees do that. Cubs don't sign guys to extensions. They let them hit free agency and they let them walk usually. That's the way the Cubs have been doing their team, and that's why they've been able to keep their payroll at what it is.
Hoerner at second, Swanson at short, Bregman at third. This is a team, as I've written, has very little on their books beyond this season. So
yeah, but the New York Yankees could throw a bunch of young pitching at the Cubs, and they like to keep that payroll down. You might be able to squeeze them away from them. I'm down for a one-year rental at this point. In fact, I'm down for anything.
in perfect position, as they were for Bregman, to do something along those lines with Nico Hoerner. I know Yankee fans are lusting after him, other teams probably too, or other fan bases at least, but I just don't see this happening. I don't see it as particularly logical.
Hoerner is the Billy Donovan of the St. Louis Cardinals. It's the same thing, or the Luis Ariz, but everyone poo-poos on him in Major League Baseball.
So good for the Cubs in getting the guy that they frankly should have had last offseason. If you remember, they signed or attempted to sign Alex Bregman for 4 years, $115 million. They finished fourth in those sweepstakes. The Tigers were ahead of them. Other teams were ahead of them. Of course, the Red Sox were ahead of them. And ultimately, he gets much more than $115 from that team. He gets $60 million more and an extra year. Good for Alex Bregman. He comes out way ahead here, even with the deferrals. He gets 6 years, $215 million. It's not worth that in present day, but that is ultimately around what he wanted. So Alex Bregman, he'll be at Wrigley next year. He'll be at Wrigley with Edward Cabrera, and the Cubs are a team that, depending upon what the Brewers do, are going to be one of the favorites in the NL Central, which is
yeah, because you got to remember the Chicago Cubs. I mean, last year, if it wasn't for the Brewers playing absolutely out of their minds, they would have won that division, hands down.
They should be every single year, since they are the biggest spender, or should be the biggest spender in that particular division. Now, moving on. This is where it gets really interesting, and I touched on this in my 4 takeaways on the Bregman contract Saturday night. 3 big bats remain: Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger, Bo Bichette. More than 3 teams are in the hunt for those big bats. More than 3 big market teams are in the hunt. In fact, I've listed 5. I've got 5 in my head.
I do not want Bo Bichette. I think that Bo Bichette might have the propensity to be the next Jacoby Ellsbury for whatever team he lands on. All right, the Toronto Blue Jays don't let really good players walk. They re-sign them. Look at Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Bo Bichette is a homegrown guy. They have a spot for him. They could use a right-handed bat in that lineup. So when you look at evaluating a player, you got to scratch your head and go, why doesn't their own franchise want them back? What do they know about this guy that we don't know? He hits for high average. He's a great right-handed hitter. It's injuries with him. And he's a future second baseman. He's not our starting shortstop anymore. With the injuries, you saw it during the World Series, him trying to work through it last year. He's starting to break down on that small frame of his. And now, are you willing to give him $300 million? Because apparently that's what Bo Bichette is asking for, guys, which is crazy town.
That's a question we're going to see answered. The Yankees with Bellinger, Buster Olney reported just a couple of days ago that they are operating as if he is signing somewhere else. That doesn't mean they won't sign him, but obviously,
like I said, I think Cody Bellinger will be a New York Met when it's all said and done. I think Kyle Tucker will now land. I don't know where Kyle Tucker is going to go. And in fact, I don't want to sign both of them. And I was having this conversation with my dad yesterday over the house, and he's like, "What? You don't think that they're good players?" I said, "It's not that. It's the amount of money that they cost." And then my dad goes, "Well, you're not spending the money." I go, "Well, yes, indirectly, I am spending money, whether it's concessions, ticket sales, or it's the matter of where you got to see salaries this year as opposed to next year." Hal Steinbrenner hates paying that luxury tax. You got a guy like Max Fried. He's making $17 million this year, which is a deal. He's making $36 million next year. So if you go and get a guy like Cody Bellinger, who I said is 70th and 60th in ESPN and MLB rankings and positional players, okay, 70 and 60, I'll re-say that. Do you allocate that amount of money to make him the fifth highest paid player in Major League Baseball? Makes absolutely no sense. And I'll say it once, I'll say it again. You never walked out of a Houston Astros game going, "Man, that Kyle Tucker guy really beat us." Man, he's a great glue piece, but are you willing to allocate $400 million for the third best player on your team? I don't think so. Cody Bellinger's got to remember also, Aaron Judge makes everybody better than him in front and behind him in the lineup. And it's no coincidence. Everybody has a career year that's in the same atmosphere as Aaron Judge.
obviously those negotiations have not gone well. The Athletics' Brendan Cuddy has detailed that from the very beginning. So if the Yankees get Bellinger, okay, that's the guy that they've targeted, the guy they want. They're in a similar position.
Listen, at this point, we loved you, Cody, because you were $26 million and we got you from the Cubs. You don't make a peep, and we gave you a pass because you had a first rough 3 months of the season. You finished with great numbers, don't get me wrong. What'd you do in the postseason? Okay? Like, why are we treating this guy like he's the belle of the ball? Don't go out of your way to appease the fans just to sign somebody, okay? We've had ones like that before. Kevin Brown, Kei Agawa, Carl Pavano, okay? All these dudes who we really didn't really need. Jacoby Ellsbury's another move. I'm telling you, man. Cody Bellinger has a lot of miles on his engine, too. He's already been in the league for about 7 years. He won the MVP about 6 years ago. He played Little League Baseball his whole life. He was a pitcher. He converted into an outfielder. So listen, he's a ball player. He's a great guy. He's a great baseball player for $21 million a year, not $27 million a year, not $37 million a year, what he's asking for. And also, Scott Boras, in this new collective bargaining agreement, Scott Boras has got to be stopped. One agent can't hold up the whole offseason and can't hold all of Major League Baseball hostage the whole winter.
Position with him that the Red Sox were in with Bregman. Number one priority. That's Cody Bellinger for the New York Yankees. The Tucker sweepstakes getting quite interesting. Jim Duquette reporting this morning again that the three teams in the mix for Tucker are the Mets, the Blue Jays, and the Dodgers. How this is going to play out, I'm not exactly sure. Will any of those teams go long with Tucker? That probably is the biggest question right now, because the Dodgers, we know they want to go short. The Mets, we know they want to go short. The Blue Jays, it's unclear exactly where they are. And here's Jim's tweet from this morning. A league source confirmed to me that the three main teams involved in the Tucker negotiations, Toronto, the Dodgers, and the Mets, have all met with the player, either in person or over Zoom, as part of the recruiting process. Will be interesting to see if any of the three teams increase their offers soon to separate themselves from the other. Now, the real question here, perhaps, is what does...
I think Cody Bellinger is going to be a Met, and I think Kyle Tucker eventually goes to the Dodgers. Like, if you look at that lineup, it's getting a little long in the tooth, the batting order for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And during the World Series, they were having problems with offense. I mean, their pitching really saved their ass in that playoffs. So I wouldn't be so surprised if you wake up one morning, Cody Bellinger's a Met, and Kyle Tucker is a Los Angeles Dodger.
What does Tucker want? He's a low-key guy. It's hard for people who know him, many people who know him, to envision him wanting the Mets. Obviously, if they make the high offer, he's going to want the Mets a little bit more. The Blue Jays, does he want to go to Toronto? It's still a question that some free agents have. And then there are the Dodgers. And with the Dodgers, the reason I kind of like them in these sweepstakes is because with them, he would be their fifth, sixth biggest star. He could kind of mix in and not attract the notice he would in those other cities. With the Mets, obviously, he wouldn't be the biggest star. And with the Blue Jays, he wouldn't be the biggest. But the Dodgers have arguably the most star power.
Kyle Tucker's never been the biggest star on his team. He's always been the third wide receiver on his team, okay? Yeah, I'll use a football analogy for you. Do you want to pay that guy like he's the top four players in all of Major League Baseball? Don't get me wrong, those stats look pretty good. 4-time Silver Slugger, World Series champion. Yeah, but I don't know, man. Just doesn't jump out of the page on me. How do you guys feel? Do you just want this guy because you just want somebody on your team, or do you believe in him as a player?
Of any team. So Tucker, it's going to be a really interesting decision, really interesting to see what he does. Now, then there are the Boston Red Sox, and I wouldn't call them the best, but I've saved them for last. This is not a question of saving the best for last. No, the question with the Red Sox is, what the heck are they going to do? As I mentioned, they're not a team that looks like they're going to be giving Bo Bichette 8 years, $200 million anytime soon, or something to that effect. They're a team that has, from the days when they failed to sign Mookie Betts, kind of had missteps at every turn. The failure to sign Mookie, the trade of Mookie, that was the original sin. After that, what happened? They overcompensated by giving Devers, Rafael Devers, a 10-year, $313.5 million deal. I don't know that anyone, when that deal was signed, thought it was a great idea, thought that Devers was a guy that, 3, 4, 5 years from the date of signing would still be playing third base. He looked like a first baseman DH even then. What did the Red Sox see in him in year 2 of that contract? A first baseman DH. It's when they signed Bregman and they moved Devers over, or tried to move him over to first, wanted to move him over to first, and we all know how that turned out. So then you have Bregman, but you don't sign Bregman back. And now you're left with a hole at third base. You're left with no Devers, no Bregman. What do? You see there, Jen McCaffrey wrote, in letting Alex Bregman walk, the Red Sox.
Red Sox fans, let me know right now in the comments below, what are you most pissed about? What pisses you off most about this organization? Because I got to admit, I'm clicking my heels. I mean, okay, like, you guys should have tripled down on your pitching. You shouldn't have let Alex Bregman leave your building without signing him immediately. Like, what was the sense in that? You both knew that you wanted each other. Why would you let another team scoop in and steal your dude? Like, it makes no sense to me. The Boston Red Sox, amen. I guess Hancock and Hal are hanging out a lot because they're both cheapskates.
$5 million heavily deferred. We don't know if that's true or not. It's a hypothetical, but the Red Sox should have signed Mookie. That, again, was the original sin. So where are we now? What I wrote about the Cubs last week is just as applicable for the Red Sox at this moment. You're a big market team. Act like it. Back in a moment with the inside dish. Oh, and one other thing. The Foul Territory Network has Bregman's deal covered from every angle. Patrick Mooney and Sahadev Sharma's latest North Side territory entirely. And today I'm going to talk about my column that appeared this morning in The Athletic, the one on Tarek Skubal's arbitration case with the Detroit Tigers. This case is getting a lot of attention. It should get a lot of attention because Skubal has asked for a record amount.
So this is the situation with Skubal. Obviously, he's one of the, if not the best pitcher in all of Major League Baseball. The Detroit Tigers, they never give guy contracts. They never sign guys for long term. The arbitration came to, I think it was like 17. He's asking for 30 plus. But I don't think people want to spend all the equity on a 1-year rental. Like the New York Yankees, the Chicago Cubs have been doing that, and it really hasn't paid dividends. So we can see it from a 30,000-foot angle here. and see that the 1-year rental really doesn't work. And the cost of Skubal to go get him would be steep for a lot of teams. Now, I don't know why the New York Mets aren't all over this guy, or are they going to follow the same move that they made before, like with Juan Soto? Let some other team give up all their farm system guys when we're going to swoop in with a bag of cash next year and just throw money at them. Because what's even worse is throwing farm system capital at a guy. Then you try to sign him and he walks. So you're left with absolutely nothing.
Out in arbitration, $32 million. The Tigers have offered $19 million. It is the biggest spread in the history of arbitration, going back to 1974 or so. And it is a complex, nuanced case that requires a good amount of thought and a good amount of explanation. I won't go into as much detail here as I did in the column. The column is sort of lengthy by my standards, I guess. But first off, let's talk about how arbitration hearings work. I know most fans understand this, but let's just get through it so the people who maybe aren't familiar can get some insight into how this works. So in a hearing, one side has submitted one number, in this case, Skubal's side, $32 million. The other side submits another number, $19 million in the Tigers case. And the arbitrator, the three-person panel, independent arbitrators jointly agreed upon by the union and Major League Baseball, they pick one number or the other.
So, for example, let's say if a guy has a great first 3 years as a player. Players are stuck on a first 5-year contract. That's why you always hear in baseball, they don't want to start the clock on guys. So whenever you're scratching your head why the New York Yankees don't bring guys up like Spencer Jones, or why they didn't bring Jason Domínguez up at a certain point, once you bring those guys up to Major League Baseball, you start the clock on their 5 years. You can pay them minimal pay for 5 years now. When they did the CBA a couple of years ago, they realigned this. So let's say for Spencer Jones, for example, okay? Let's say Spencer Jones comes up, boom, his clock starts. Now he has, boom, an amazing year, amazing year. He's still making $500,000 a year, which I know is great. But to play baseball, that pales in comparison to what everybody else is making. So you have a choice to go into arbitration. They just had about 8 or 9 guys going to arbitration for the New York Yankees. Jazz was the biggest guy in that. For instance, I think like Jazz was making $6 million. He comes out of arbitration. He's making $11 million now. Okay, so it gives players flexibility where if you're playing out of your mind, hitting 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, and the production that you're putting out and the play rate that you're putting out is higher than your pay rate, a third party, which is called an arbitrator, can come in and they can negotiate between the team, player, and arbitrator what is fair with, because like if you're one of the best players in the league and you're making $500,000 while you look over at Juan Soto, who's right next to you, and he's making $61 million, that's unfair.
They don't go in between. It's 32 or 19 in this case. Now, there is the possibility that the Tigers and Skubal could settle before the hearing takes place in February. But in talking to people on both sides, no one anticipates that happening.
And also, it's the Shohei Ohtani thing on the Los Angeles Angels, is because the Angels knew Ohtani was a goner. Okay, he was going to leave, but what did they do? They kept him, and in fact, during the trade deadline, they tried to stock the team up, and they never even made the playoffs. So not only did they trade all their farm system away to add pieces around Shohei Ohtani, they didn't get anything for him, then he left. So that's why they're so dismal now. So if you got a guy like Skubal, what I would do is start the season with him, hope he doesn't get hurt, and then at the trade deadline, you can get a lot more for him. If you think that you can fleece teams right now for Skubal, wait until July on the trade deadline and wait for like somebody like the Philadelphia Phillies, who are one pitcher away from going to the World Series because of a devastating injury somewhere, and they can scoop up Skubal, no pun intended. That's when you're going to see the Detroit Tigers take everybody and everything from whoever acquires Skubal.
They are both entrenched in their positions, and they both have, in their minds, valid points. What they're saying here is, in each case, each side is saying the other side is trying to break from established norms. And I'll explain that as we get into it. Skubal made $10.15 million last year off his first Cy Young. He then won his second Cy Young. And here we are, where these two sides are diametrically opposed in how they see what this case should mean for Tarik Skubal.
Look at those numbers, man. Look at those numbers. You pay that guy whatever he wants.
Skubal and Boras believe that his number, the Tigers' number, I should say, ignores the CBA. The CBA, which lists special accomplishments and lists 5+ players as players who can go outside the normal arbitration comparison. Usually players are compared only to players in their own class. That's how this works. That's how the numbers are determined. Ultimately, when teams are negotiating with players, when the arbitrators decide on cases that are not settled. But Skubal can compare himself because of those two things, special accomplishments and his status as a player with 5 or more years service. He can compare himself to all players. And that includes free agents who have signed lucrative contracts.
Well, listen, that's going to be it for the AL East report today, but I have to touch on something. I just got breaking news on my phone while I'm recording this. It's 3:15 in the afternoon here on Monday. The Yankees reportedly have offered Cody Bellinger a 5 years, $155 million contract. And what I got to say is that's a little more like it. The 7-year astronomical contract ain't happening. 5 years max. If he doesn't like it, tell him to pound salt. Bring in Spencer Jones, Jason Domínguez. Run with the young guys. The Boston Red Sox better pick it up. Who knows if they're going to sweep into the Cody Bellinger sweepstakes now, because they did not allocate $175 million to Bregman, and you know that they had that on the shelf in a bag waiting just to give to him. So now, can they pivot and give it to somebody else? Where is Kyle Tucker going to land? I think he's going to go with the Dodgers. And why, for all my heads in New York, on the other side of the fence, New York Mets, why haven't you fucking signed a pitcher yet? I don't know. Well, listen, you guys can go over to Instagram, New York Minute Sports. That's NEWYRKMIN. And right here on YouTube. And that information superhighway you call a smoke wagon, baby. New York Minute Sports. It's New York sports for New York nuts. And remember, if you can't be good, be bad, baby. Good night, Canada. Bye.